Have you ever looked in the mirror and wished, truly wished, you could be the kind of person nothing touches? The kind of soul who walks through storms with dry eyes? Unshakable, unbothered, untouchable. What if I told you that dream is not what it seems? Because the truth is, what you're calling strength might actually be a mask. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to finally stop pretending you're fine. You're tired and no one sees it. Maybe you're exhausted. Exhausted from holding it together. From smiling when your chest feels heavy. From carrying the invisible pressure of being the resilient one, the understanding one, the strong one. Maybe you're tired of being so emotionally available for everyone else, while being emotionally starved yourself. Have you ever wanted to just stop? Stop answering messages. Stop fixing things. Stop pretending. Have you ever fantasized about disappearing not to punish anyone, but to finally give yourself the rest you never dared to ask for? The truth, no one tells you. Let me tell you something that very few have the courage to say out loud. As long as you're running from pain, pain is running your life. As long as you're numbing, hiding, pleasing, avoiding, you remain a hostage. Hostage to other people's moods, to careless words, to passive-aggressive silences, to betrayals you saw coming, but pretended not to. And no, this doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But here's the difference. Some of us get better at hiding it. Others get better at healing it. Which one are you becoming? Carl Jung's brutal truth. Carl Jung, one of the founding fathers of depth psychology, said it clearly. We are not what happens to us. We are what we choose to become. So what are you becoming? Because life will hit you. People will disappoint you. Criticism will come. Loss will arrive uninvited. And pretending you're immune doesn't protect you. It only disconnects you from your truth, from others, from yourself. It's not about being cold, it's about integration. You don't have to become cold to stop being hurt. You don't need to become indifferent to become strong. You don't need to be untouchable to survive. You need to be integrated. You need to stop burying what hurts you in the dark corners of your psyche and finally bring it into the light. True strength is not the absence of pain. It's being fully aware of who you are, even while you're bleeding, even when you're breaking, even when you feel like you can't keep going but choose to show up anyway. If you're still here, this is for you. If you're still listening, that means something in you resonates with this message. And that is no accident. This is for the ones who are tired of being hurt by everything and everyone. For those who feel emotionally outnumbered, outmatched like other people, have some secret power that keeps them safe from pain, and you miss the memo, I want you to know it doesn't have to stay this way. But to change it, you're going to have to look at some truths that are sharp, truths that sting. But for the first time, this pain might actually set you free. What really hurts you is not what you think. You believe your pain comes from the outside, from what they said, from how they left, from the betrayal, the abandonment, the silence. But here's the brutal truth. None of those things have the power to hurt you unless there's already an open wound inside you. What actually hurts is what their actions awaken in you. The memories, the insecurities, the voices in your head that whisper, see, you're still not enough. What hurts is not what happens. It's the story you tell yourself about what happens. Old wounds disguised as strength. That strength you wear like armor. That smile you force when your world is falling apart. That need to seem okay all the time is not strength. It's survival. It's the strategy of someone who's been taught that being vulnerable means being weak. That being emotional means being unstable. That being honest means being rejected. Jung taught us the pain we feel in the outer world is a reflection of what we haven't yet faced in our inner world. That's why one person can survive heartbreak with clarity while another crumbles under a simple misunderstanding. It's not the situation. It's the wound it hits. Control is an illusion. Here's another uncomfortable truth. You still suffer because you still believe you can control how others treat you. You're still trying to be good enough, strong enough, kind enough to earn kindness in return. But that's not how life works. Control is a myth, and the more you chase it, the more exhausted you become. You think if you say the right thing, wear the right mask, love the right way, you won't get hurt, but you still do. Because people aren't reacting to you. They're reacting to their own wounds. The real freedom, self-awareness, not control. So, do you want to stop suffering? Then stop trying to protect yourself from suffering. You don't need more control. You need more awareness. As long as your peace depends on how others behave, you're not free. You become free the moment you understand. Nothing from the outside can hurt you, unless it finds an echo inside you. And that echo, that's your work. That's your healing. That's your battlefield. The unconscious is running your life because here's the terrifying truth. What you do not see controls you. Your triggers, your overreactions, your people pleasing, your shutdowns, they are not random. They are echoes of your unconscious, of parts of you that you've silenced for too long. Carl Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Let's go deeper together. In the next part, we're going to dive deeper into that unconscious, into the shadow, into the forgotten parts of you that are still driving the wheel when you think you're in control. Because true transformation begins when you stop reacting and start remembering. When you stop blaming the world and start healing yourself. If this speaks to you, don't just scroll. Click subscribe. Share this with someone who needs it. Leave a comment if you felt what I'm talking about. And let's walk through this fire together. So we ended the last part with a hard truth. You're not suffering because of the world. You're suffering because of the echoes inside you that the world keeps triggering. And now we take a step deeper into the space where most people never dare to look. The unconscious. What the unconscious really is, we often imagine the unconscious as a vague fog, a blur of forgotten dreams or past lives. But it's not a mist. It's a system. An active, complex, living force that stores every memory you've buried, every pain you've numbed, every desire you've repressed, and every fear you've denied. And whether you realize it or not, it is still running your life. You wonder why a single comment can ruin your whole day while someone else shrugs it off like it's nothing. It's not because you're weak. It's because that comment hit a nerve, a wound inside you that never fully healed. If that wound wasn't there, the words wouldn't cut so deep. What you've been pushing under the rug, most of us don't confront pain, we bury it. We sweep it under a psychological rug and then spend years tripping over the same lumps in our emotional carpet. Carl Jung said it clearly. We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. And what have you been doing? Judging yourself, silencing yourself, condemning yourself every time you felt too much, cared too deeply, or reacted too fast. You think that if you just ignore the pain long enough, it will go away. But the unconscious doesn't disappear when neglected. It just becomes more dangerous. It shows up everywhere until you listen. Your unconscious starts to bleed into your life in ways you don't expect. Toxic relationships that follow the same emotional pattern. Self-sabotage that kicks in right when things are going well. Anxiety that arises for no logical reason. emotional fatigue that returns even after rest. And noit's not bad luck. It's not random. It's your unconscious trying to wake you up. But still, you keep hitting snooze. Still trying to protect yourself from pain. Not realizing that the more you avoid it, the more power you give it. Want to stop being hurt? Face the hurt within. You say you want to stop being so hurt by people. Then stop running from what's hurting you on the inside. Because as long as you don't understand your unconscious, you will remain a puppet of your emotions. You think you're protecting yourself by building walls. But what you're really doing is locking yourself in a prison made of fear. And here's the paradox. The more you try to shield yourself from external pain, the more exposed you become to internal suffering. Real strength is not resistance, it's self-knowledge. But there is a way out, and it doesn't come from defending yourself. It comes from integrating yourself. Becoming untouchable isn't about hardening your heart. It's not about pretending nothing hurts. It's about understanding yourself so well, so deeply, that nothing on the outside can destabilize you anymore. True strength isn't resistance. It's knowledge. It's insight. It's integration. The myth of emotional armor. Most people think the only way to avoid pain is to build walls. So they say things like, I don't care anymore. Nothing affects me. I'm done trying. But these are just survival slogans. The truth is, most people are still bleeding inside. They're just bleeding in silence. They've armored up, but inside that armor is a soul screaming to be acknowledged, to be understood, to finally be felt. Jung's reminder, be a human soul. Jung said, know all the theories, master all the techniques, but when you touch a human soul, be just another human soul. And guess what? That soul includes you. You keep hiding behind strength, but your soul is asking you for softness. You want to be untouchable? Then touch the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. You don't rise above pain by avoiding it. Being emotionally strong doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean ignoring what hurts. It doesn't mean shutting people out or pretending you don't care. It means embracing your entire self, not just the parts you're proud of, but also the parts you've rejected. You don't become untouchable by distancing yourself from the world. You become untouchable when nothing within you is untouched anymore. Integration is the real transformation. This is what Jung called individuation. The process of becoming your true self, not what society says you should be, not who your family raised you to be, not the version you created to be accepted, but the real you, born from the meeting of light and shadow, from ego and unconscious, from truth and trauma. It's not a journey of perfection. It's a journey of wholeness. The secret no one told you. Here's the secret no one ever told you. The more you run from pain, the more fragile you become. But when you stop running, when you look that pain in the eyes, when you sit with it, listen to I honor it, it loses its power. You become unshakable. Because now, nothing outside you can trigger what you've already made peace with. This path takes courage, but this path isn't easy. It takes courage. Courage to feel again. Courage to take off the mask. Courage to admit that the pain you tried to bury never really left. But the moment you do, that pain stops being your prison and becomes your doorway to transformation. Closing, prepare for the next part. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. How pain, far from being your enemy, can become your greatest teacher, your most honest guide, and the key to becoming who you were always meant to be. So if you're ready, let's dive deeper. But this time, without fear. In the last part, we realize that running from pain only fuels it, that what you avoid within will eventually control your life from the shadows. Now, it's time to go even deeper, to understand why suffering, as terrifying and unwelcome as it seems, might just be the very language your soul has been speaking all along. Pain is not a punishment, it's a message. Most of us treat suffering like a malfunction, something to fix, silence, or push away. But Carl Jung saw it differently. To him, pain wasn't a glitch in the system. It was the system's alarm, the messenger of the soul, the voice of the unconscious finally rising to the surface. He said, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't chase her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, and listen to what she has to say." But do we listen? Rarely. We silence ourselves. We distract ourselves. We overwork, overthink, over-entertain, all to avoid hearing what our inner world is crying out for us to face. Why pain hurts so much? The truth is, pain hurts most when you're still at war with yourself. When one part of you longs to grow, to change, to become, and another part clings to what's safe, familiar, and predictable. When your soul whispers, "It's time," but your ego screams, "Not yet." That internal friction, that's where suffering is born. And it's not random, it's precise. Pain emerges where your old identity is cracking, where transformation is pushing against the walls you've built to survive. Change is a kind of death. Growth hurts. Letting go hurts. Cutting ties to toxic people, outdated beliefs, performative masks. It's all a kind of mourning, an internal death, and yes, a sacred one. But here's the paradox. It's only when everything in you collapses, when the floor drops out and your certainties vanish, that something new can finally be born. Because when the masks fall, when the armor shatters, when you're stripped of performance and protection, that's when you meet yourself. Not the image, not the persona, the real you. Suffering is sacred when it brings you to yourself. At that point, pain becomes sacred. Why? Because it brings you to your knees, not before the world, but before your truth. And it's from that position of surrender that freedom begins. Carl Jung understood this deeply. To him, pain was not the end. It was the initiation. The fire you walk through, the valley you cross, the descent that leads to your own resurrection. Why most people never make it through? But here's the reality. Most people never cross that valley. They stop halfway. They run back to comfort. They distract themselves with busyness, validation, or surface level fixes. Because pain doesn't just ask you to feel, it asks you to change, to let go, to die metaphorically so that you can be reborn into something real, but not you. If you're still here listening, breathing, staying present, it's because you're ready. You're ready to walk into the darkness. Not to be consumed by it, but to reclaim what's been waiting for you in the shadows. What is the path of individuation, really? Jung called this journey individuation. It sounds clinical, but it's one of the most spiritual paths you can take. It's the process of becoming who you truly are. But here's the catch. It doesn't begin with finding something new. It begins with unlearning everything you thought you were. And that's painful. You are not your image. You are not your achievements. You are not your trauma. You are not the version of yourself you built to be liked, admired, or accepted. All of that, every bit of it, was part of a survival strategy. And survival is not the same as living. Individuation is the soul's call beyond survival. It's the moment the unconscious begins surfacing everything you've repressed. The wounds, the shame, the rage, the needs you pretended didn't exist. The mask must fall. Jung called this the dissolution of the persona. The mask you wear to navigate society. The mask of collective convenience. And you can't go forward wearing it. You'll have to tear it off. Sometimes piece by piece, sometimes all at once. Because what lies beneath is not weakness. It's wholeness. This is where you become untouchable. And this, ironically, is where you begin to become untouchable. Not because pain stops existing, but because you've already walked through the fire, because you've faced your monsters. You've looked shame in the eye. You've touched your own vulnerability and said, I see you. You no longer control me. Strength without dependency. This is not the kind of strength that looks impressive from the outside. It's not loud. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need to win. It's quiet, centered, whole. It's a strength that does not rely on validation, control, or recognition. Because when you've made peace with your darkness, no one can weaponize it against you. Closing. Tease. Next part, and this is just the beginning. In the next part, we'll go even deeper into what happens after you've walked through the fire. After the collapse, after the identity shatters, we'll explore what it really means to live from that place of inner clarity when nothing outside of you owns your peace anymore. So stay with me, because what's ahead isn't just healing, it's your rebirth. So you've walked through the fire, you've faced your shadows, peeled off your masks, stood raw and exposed before your truth. And now, you've arrived at something rare, a clarity that no one can give you and no one can take away. True strength is not appearance, it's inner integration. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to look strong, sound-wise, or perform strength. Because now you know, true emotional armor isn't a shell, it's a core. It's not the wall you build around yourself. It's the anchor inside you. It's the quiet stability that comes from having faced your wounds and chosen to stand anyway. From no longer reacting impulsively, but responding consciously. You may still feel pain. You may still be hurt. But you don't unravel anymore. Because your center holds. Because you're no longer stitched together by others' opinions or conditional acceptance, but by self-awareness, honesty, and integration. The price of inner clarity, loneliness, but this depth, it comes with a price. And that price is loneliness. Not because you'll be alone, but because few people can follow you to the place you now dwell. Most remain trapped on the surface, in the noise, in performance, in pretending. You're not better than them. You're simply awake. And when you begin to free yourself, you begin to create distance. But hear me clearly. This distance is not rejection. It's maturation. You don't walk away out of pride. You walk away because your soul can no longer breathe in the spaces where you used to hide. The final revelation. Consciousness is your shield. And here, we reach the final truth of this journey. It's not strength that protects you. It's consciousness, not force, not defensiveness, not coldness, just clarity. Carl Jung knew this. He said, what you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Until you become fully aware of what lives inside you, no boundary will ever be enough. No wall, no affirmation, no silence. Awakening is not an event, it's a choice. And awakening, it's not a mystical, dramatic moment. It's a daily choice. It's choosing to look inward, even when it hurts. It's choosing to feel even when it's uncomfortable. It's choosing to take ownership without blaming the past, people, or fate. You spent years resisting the fear of not being enough, the emptiness of rejection, the pain of not being seen, the silence that felt like abandonment. And how did you cope? You hid. You perfected. You armored up. You tried to be what the world would love. And now you're tired, exhausted. True emotional strength is clarity, not control. But here's what you now understand. True emotional immunity is not control. It is clarity. It's not about becoming untouchable. It's about being whole. It's not about avoiding suffering. It's about not letting suffering shape who you are. When you understand your wounds, when you know your patterns, when you face your fears, other people's actions lose the power to destroy you. You still feel, but you don't drown. You still suffer, but you don't lose yourself. And that changes everything. Don't live on the surface anymore. You see, those who live on the surface, they get knocked down by every wave. But those who dive deep, they find silence. They find steadiness. They find power. Because the ocean doesn't rage at the bottom. It is calm. It is quiet. It is vast. And that is where you now live. From here, life begins anew. When you start to live from this place, from presence, from acceptance, from self-awareness, the world can still try to shake you, but it no longer finds a way in, because there's no longer a wound to trigger, no longer a mask to tear off. Invitation to embody this new state. If this video touched something inside you, if something in you has shifted, then write in the comments, I choose awareness. Let's start a movement, not of people pretending to be strong, but of people choosing to live with truth. People who are tired of surviving, and finally ready to feel fully alive. Closing, prepare for what's next. And don't forget, this may be the end of this video, but not the end of your journey. There's more to uncover, more to heal, more to remember about who you've always been. So keep watching, keep going. Because real transformation begins not when you understand it, but when you refuse to stop. See you in the next video.